Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about the Chinese New Year. Happy New Year! Well, maybe the day you're watching it, it's not New Year. This year, in the year 2021, the Chinese New Year is on February 12th. So it's a little bit after our calendar New Year, which is December 31st into January 1st. So it's a little bit different. And the reason that is because it's based on the moon cycle. So depending on whenever the moon is coming around at the right time of year is the Chinese New Year. All right, so it's different a little bit every year, and usually it's around the first or second week of February. Sometimes it's in January, depends on the year, okay? So let's talk a little bit about Chinese New Year traditions and how they might be similar or different than ours. But before we get super into that, what is this Chinese New Year all about? Now, the story goes, and this story comes from 1766 BCE, and that's before the Common Era. So that was probably almost 3,000 years ago. So this is a very old story. And the story goes that a long time ago, there was this monster, this beast, and its name was the Year. Okay? And every year, the Year would attack the people that lived on the land. And this monster was pretty crazy looking. He had the body of an ox, which is like kind of a big cow creature, right? It had the head of a lion, and it lives in the ocean. So every year, this very crazy, scary monster would attack people. It was so frightening, and people eventually found out that you could scare off this monster with three main things. The color red. Hey, look, I'm wearing red. I'm scaring the year off today. Fire and loud bangs or booms. So what people decided to do that every year when this monster would be maybe attacking, they would launch fireworks into the sky to make big color red everywhere and make big noises. People would wear and decorate with the color red, and they would usually hang lanterns for that fire and kind of scaring away this monster. Now, this is what we call a myth or a legend. So this isn't necessarily a true story because we don't have all the facts, but maybe there's a creature that's out there. I don't know. Hopefully we don't find out, right? So a little bit about the traditions and things that happen nowadays for the Chinese New Year. It's kind of like a big family reunion. I know for our New Year, a lot of times you get together with your friends or your family to celebrate this new time, all right? And if it's like anything like my New Year's, I have a lot of food, all right? And that's the same for the Chinese New Year too. Usually there's fish, dumplings, all sorts of side dishes, and it's supposed to be like a time to celebrate. It's almost like Thanksgiving where you have a spread of food and it's a good time for all, and look how good things are right now, all right? And during the Chinese New Year and our New Year, a lot of people light fireworks to kind of celebrate. And for the Chinese New Year, they also have it to scare away any evil spirits or bad things that might be lurking around. And one really fun tradition that's kind of special for the Chinese New Year is that families and couples and older people will give these red envelopes to children with money in it. And it's supposed to be good luck to have this red envelope with money. So maybe we should start doing that over here too, right? And one really big tradition, I know I do for New Year, but maybe you do, maybe you don't, is actually really cleaning and like trying to make your house in order before the New Year. So you have a really nice fresh start, right? It's a good way to start the year, have a fresh, clean home ready to go, kind of like a peaceful kind of a deal, right? So one fun thing along with this Chinese New Year is this thing called the Chinese Zodiac. And every 12 years, there's a new animal that represents that year, okay? So if you look really closely, if you want to pause the video here, I have a chart with all of the animals and different years that go along with it, all right? So, and there's a YouTube video link in here, and I'll put a link in my video of the story of how these 12 animals were picked, because they have the rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig. So like, why were these animals picked over like, I don't know, a panda? Or why didn't they pick a turkey? I don't know, So you'll find, if you watch that clip, you'll find out a little bit more of how those animals were picked. All right. If you looked really close at this chart and you already kind of figured it out, this year is the year of the ox. All right. So I'm going to take a pause for a minute because our project today is going to have to do with an ox. But every class is going to be doing something a little bit different. So stay tuned and find out what your class is doing for the year of the ox. All right, second grade, for your ox project, today we're going to be making a collage. You say collage, collage. It kind of sounds like college, or like if you get through high school, maybe you want to go to college, but it's collage. Kind of a j sound. Anyways, we're going to be making a collage, and what that is when you have a piece of paper and you add things to it, like more paper, string, photographs, ribbon. It's having a base of some sort, like paper or maybe cardboard or whatever your base of surface is, and you add to it. So we're going to be making a collage with a piece of paper and magazines. So at home, if you have a parent has an old magazine they're not using, or an old newspaper, or maybe an old book, but please, before you chop up or rip up anything, go ask your family, okay? I just happen to have a bunch of old pieces of magazine papers that I found in the books today. So if you need some sort of magazine pages, or you're really struggling to find things, you could always maybe go to like a dentist office and see if they have old ones they're getting rid of, or I can drop some off in the office too, but you got to let me know if you need any. All right. So if you have colorful paper, I would recommend actually using a red piece of paper for your base today, because we're going to be, like I said, Chinese New Year has a lot of red in it to kind of ward away the evil spirits. So I'm using red paper, but if you don't have red paper, that's fine. You can use white, or if you want to like color a piece of paper red, that's good too. All right. So I'm going to show you how to draw where your parts are going to go and what you're going to do, and then how we're going to do it. All right. So let me switch my camera here so we can start talking through this. All right. So once you have that piece of paper in front of you, we're actually going to very lightly draw our bull head. Okay. So we know where we want to put things and what sizes things should be. So because bulls have really big horns, I want my paper the long horizontal way today. All right. So I'm going to start by kind of drawing the shape of the head, which is kind of ovalish, but it gets skinnier at the front because he's got a snout. So I'm going to draw kind of like almost a human looking head, where I do an oval that goes up and down. Oh my goodness, that you can't see it. Oh, let me grab a Sharpie real quick. Oh, I was forgetting something. My lighting is not very good in here. So like I said, we're going to draw an oval. There we go. A nice oval for the top up here, kind of like a hill or an upside down letter U, but then we're going to kind of just turn it into a really skinny one where it's going to come down. Okay. And we're going to put our nose in here too right away. That's going to be another different magazine piece. So we're going to put a big oval right at the bottom here. And it's okay if these overlap a little bit. You see how my lines are overlapping, because we're going to cover these with magazine parts anyway. Okay. From there, we also want to add some horns. Like I said, a bull is really famous for its big old horns. So we're going to kind of have, from one corner, we're going to swoop in to add kind of like a big swoosh kind of look. So I'm going to start towards the corner. I'm going to go down, and I'm going to go right in the head. That's okay, because it's where it's attached. And then I'm going to get skinnier as I go back. All right, so there's one horn, and I'm going to do another one from this corner. I'm going to go down, over, and back up. All right, then from there, I'm going to get some ears. And ears are actually kind of weird on a bull. They're kind of under the horns, and they kind of go pretty similar shape and curve out from the head. So I'm going to just go kind of like an eyeball almost. I'm going to go up and down and up. Make an ear on each side. All right. Whoop. All right, so I'm not gonna worry about the eyes yet. I can kind of say, oh, I'll probably have them around here, but I'm gonna be putting a piece of magazine right there, so you won't be able to see it, okay? So here's where we're gonna start getting a little funky with it, right? You're gonna, like I said, you're gonna need some magazine pieces or some pictures to cut up, and you're also gonna need glue at some point, but that we'll won't worry about right now. So from here, I'm gonna say, ooh, I want this to be my head. I found this really cool blue piece of paper. I would recommend trying to avoid pictures of people because that's gonna just look up like you're just gonna look at the person then. So I would say try to focus on finding colors, like lots of different colors. There might be people in here, but you don't have to use the whole piece of paper. Like for this one, if you see Minnie and Mickey Mouse and this person, you're gonna look at the person and the Mickey and Minnie Mouse. You're not gonna be looking at your ox, all right? So from here, I like to kind of plan, I'm gonna make it bigger than what I drew it, okay? So I'm gonna start with my head and I'm gonna use a Sharpie. You might wanna use a marker or something too. And I'm gonna say, okay, let's see how big that is. I'm gonna okay, I'm gonna make an oval that's a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna try to draw about the same shape, but bigger, okay? And from there, I'm gonna cut it out. You can see I got a couple of words stuck in there too. If it's just a few, that's okay. But you don't wanna have the whole thing covered in words because then you're just gonna be reading your bull and you wanna just see the bull. So we're gonna cut that out. And bigger is better here because when you're done cutting it, you can say, ooh boy, that's really big. Is that about the right size I want? Well, maybe it is, maybe it's not. But from here, if you want to do some trimming or making it a little smaller, you can. Okay, so I'm gonna do, that looks pretty close. Okay, so from here, we're gonna keep this off so we don't have to, so we can see everything, but I'm gonna continue tracing onto other colors of paper the rest of the bowl. So I will be fast forwarding here a bit, but here's your time to get working. I'll show you how to assemble it in just a moment, okay? All right, so I have all my pieces for my bowl. I have my head and I kind of trimmed it up a little bit more. I've got my nose or my snout. I even added some of those eye colors. I just found kind of a paper color that worked well. Got my ears and I got my horns. All right, now we're gonna get to the point of gluing it on and you might be like, well, Mrs. Fondre, I can still see some of my lines I drew. You know what? That's why you have drawn yours in pencil on your paper. So you're able to erase it and you won't see it anymore, okay? Just so I don't see it anymore. I'm actually gonna flip my paper over. Da, 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 da. And this is when you're gonna start assembling it, okay? I would always start with your head first so you know where it is and you'll glue that down. Then you will be gluing down your snout where your little bull can be breathing right there. Glue that down. You can get those ears on. And don't forget those big old horns, right? Mine go off the paper a little bit, and that's okay. And then from here, got my eyes, all right? If you want to, for your nose and for your eyes, if you grab your marker or a Sharpie or something, you could actually draw in some of those eyes. Put those dots in there so that your ox can see, right? And then your nose kind of has these ovals that go off from one side to the other. All right. So put that towards the bottom where his nose is. And then you'll glue it in from there. All right. So let me switch back to my camera here for a minute. All right. I haven't glued mine down, so I'm not going to pick it up right now. But the point here is to get this idea of you can use other things besides markers, crayons, colored pencils to make art. You can use things that you kind of find around sometimes. All right. So if you, like I said, if you need magazines or newspapers or something, let me know. I will say for a pro tip, try to avoid letters and try to avoid actual things like people or animals or I don't know, shoes, because people are going to look at those objects then and not your entire piece, okay? Because we want them to look at everything, right? So if you try to stick to just colors or maybe like flowers or something that's more about the color, that's going to help people go, wow, that's awesome, I love it. So if you have any questions, concerns, please let me know. Like I said, if you need some supplies, I'd be happy to throw some magazines and rip some pages out for you to send home. But other than that, I'm really excited to see what you come up with. Happy creating and happy Chinese New Year!